Uh, I didn't mention this, but when I was living in the United States, up in Topeka, I was constantly under racial attacks. Uh, like I say, I ended up having to quit school in February, my senior year, because I had multiple racial attacks in school and going to school and leaving school. At one time, uh, I drove up to schools in the morning. I drove up and they came out with baseball bats and busted out the windows of my car and my lights and stuff like that while I was sitting in the car. It was a bad situation. That was one of the extremes. I've had other extremes like that. Normally, I would go up against bunches 6, 20, 30, 50 at a time. So I fought a lot. And like I say, I talk about, I do fighting now. I say I'm a counter-terrorist. Okay, I continue, even as old as I am, I still fight. That's one of the things I'm really good at. Physical violence. Now, I try to avoid it as much as possible. I never started. As I got older, now I don't walk away from it. When I was younger, I would try to get away from it. Sometimes you can, sometimes they look at that as a weakness, and that gets all the wildness in them all crazy, and they get all stirred, and then the faster you try to get away, the more they want to attack you. So after I got older, I don't know when, but after I got older, I realized I'm not going nowhere. So I just hold my ground. And so I do the same thing if I'm getting robbed, I say bandits, police, military, doesn't make any difference. I'm not going nowhere. We're just going to finish it up right now. If you want to start it, you can start the thing, but I guarantee I'm going to finish it. And it's going to be finished right here, right now. So, now, after saying all that, what does all that have to do with the shitty attitude stuff? I'll tell you. The thing is, you see, I'm just going to use this for an example. The blacks now. The police killed another black person. We can't have that. We can't have that. Okay. I'll agree with you. We don't want the police killing the black folk. So I'll tell you what. Why don't you black folk take care of all your black folk? And then you won't have to worry about the police shooting. Okay. Now, I don't know if you think that sounds nasty. But I'll tell you, really what sounds nasty? Let's make a law now. Police don't shoot black guys. No more. No more black shooting. No more. Okay. Now, do you think that's going to make all the black criminals stop being criminals? You think that's going to fix it? Do you think, okay, we're not going to shoot any more black guys, so now all the black guys know they can do shit and they're not going to get shot? It's going to get ugly. Wait a minute. Am I just saying this out of nowhere? No. There was a time when the cops wouldn't shoot a black guy. There was a time. And you know what happened? I'll tell you. And this isn't storytelling. This is what I've done. I came back from Vietnam. And so I was 19 years old when I got out. All the money that I made over there, I saved. I bought this old Ford garage. And it was downtown. And it was a half a block from the police department. What I did, I started a team, what do you call it, entertainment center. Shoot pool, had pinball machines, had a snack bar, a place where teens could go. This would be in '69. Racial problems were pretty much maxing at that time. And so I just came back from Vietnam, small community. And at that time, you don't tell people you went to Vietnam, because everybody was prejudiced. They thought Vietnam veterans are crazy. So, and they really were nasty too. It was really bad. It was a tough time. So I had this center going, and I had my restaurant. I was working at the restaurant, and then I had the guy that was managing the teen center called me and said there's some black guys in there and they were scaring everybody. Now see, we had blacks and whites in there, but it just so happened there were some black guys causing a disturbance. So I thought, okay, no problem, I'll be there. So I went down there, and yeah, it was 5 of them, and they were acting crazy, and one was standing on the pool table when I got there, and so I'm respectful. So I went over there, and I turned out the lights, and I told everybody we're closed. I didn't want any trouble. I said we're closed. And so these guys they started leaving, and then they stopped. And then they commenced to saying things to me, nasty things, really nasty. And then so I started walking towards them. And then after I started walking towards them, then they stopped talking and they turned around and they started heading toward the door. And I stopped. And then they'd walk a little ways, they'd stop, they'd turn, and then they start talking nasty again. And then I started walking towards them. And then they did the same thing. They shut up and they went out the door. Out the front door. And it's right downtown. They went out the front door. They stopped right there. And they said, and they stopped right there. And then they started saying things again. And so then I walk up, they're on the sidewalk. And so when I walked out there, they said, this is a public sidewalk. You don't own this, you can't tell us to leave. And so I commenced to beating the hell out of them with my hands. They ran off. They went across the road. I told everybody to leave, and the help that was working there told them to leave. And because I knew, because I say I just got back from Vietnam and all this kind of stuff. One of the things they did, these racial problems, is one time somebody, a teacher, took a black student by the arm and took him to the principal's office. And they set the teacher's car on fire. So I knew, I beat the hell out of these people. I knew it was going to be a problem. And so I thought, well, get ready, here it comes. I told everybody to leave because I didn't want anybody else to be hurt. And I was expecting them to at least break out the windows, burn the place, and this type of stuff. So I was all ready for all this. Now I look across the street, there those 5 are across the street. And they're over there with knives and broken bottle. So, they're calling me names and, doing all this kind of stuff. You gotta remember, I just came back from Vietnam. The stories they talk about Vietnam veterans are kind of crazy. I just came back from Vietnam. I had a little 5-shot 38 snub nose. And so I pulled it out and I started shooting. Across the street was way too far to do any accuracy. And so I shot out the windows on the place across the street. And these guys all ran off. And I knew then, I didn't have any extra ammo. And so I knew then, well, there's going to be big problems now. So, now, in a few minutes, they came back. They came back in carloads, loads, more than one car. Armed. I'm not going to go into that story. But the point I'm trying to make, the police department was next door to where we were at. The police were instructed not to get involved in any racial problems. Well, I tell you, by sunrise, there was a lot of blood on those streets. It wasn't mine. There's a lot of people, especially when you get this racial crap. You get racially motivated and you start getting involved with your peers that are racially motivated. They start thinking they're a badass. One thing I learned, I've never seen a badass that there wasn't somebody tougher than him. I don't care how many of you there are. So what I'm saying is, if you think when the police stopped shooting black guys, black criminals, black disrespectful people, things are going to change, you're right. They're going to change. But I'll tell you, criminals of any color are going to get shot.